Coming up today on the Prosperity Nation podcast.
I think that's the underlying problem in so many situations is not taking responsibility. And when you actually can't confront money, then that means you're actually not taking responsibility for it either. What happens when you can't take responsibility for money? You have somebody else to blame. Welcome to the Prosperity Nation podcast. I'm Angie.
And I'm Elise.
And we promised people that we would talk about confronting money. Now, a lot of people think confront means like, I got to go confront this guy, with this aggression, right? But really, what does confront mean, Elise? Do you have what's your definition? You got a definition?
Let's see what Google says.
Okay, let's look it up.
Okay. Well, face up to and deal with a problem or difficult situation. I think that one's a good one. In this sense, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Just deal with it.
Deal
right?
with. Face up to. I think that is key because facing up to,
Yeah,
I used to want to be so aggressive with people about this. The Sensei Angie, just a little bit of background. Most people don't know this about me, but I am a 2nd degree black belt in karate, and I used to teach a lot of karate. And so sometimes this Sensei Angie comes out where I'm like, just do it. Kick, punch, block. And so I get like this with the money sometimes, and then I watch people's faces just go, okay, sorry, I don't mean to scare you. But confront means to being able to just deal with the situation and be able to look at it and not run from it. If we could describe it from what not to do, what would you say? Don't do what? Don't avoid it. Don't run from it. Yeah, not look.
Yeah. Why do you think that people don't deal with money, Elise?
Whoa, boy. I mean, that's a loaded question.
What have you seen?
Well,
but what have you seen in our experience?
Oh, man. One, people don't want to. I think it's a responsibility. They don't want that burden for whatever reason. Maybe they're not making enough and overspending, so they don't want to face the fact that they're being carefree or careless with their money. And I think a lot of people know, not confronting. I think a lot of people know they're not doing something right,
Yeah. I think it's overwhelming too. So many times that we talk to people about money, it's just overwhelming. Most people will say oh, I'm terrible with numbers. That's one of the first things. I'm just terrible with numbers. And, really that's really not what the confronting is about. Because when you confront money, are you actually sitting down and doing math? Not usually. Sometimes it's just open the bill, right?
Yeah, log into your bank account. I think it's so weird. I literally, this is obsessive.
Is this you kind of dorking out a little bit right here?
This is me being a mega nerd. I look at my bank account 4 times a day, and nothing changes. I'm just psychotic. But then when I talk to someone and they're like, oh, I don't know what my balance is. I'm like, how the hell did you not know what your balance is? I know what it is to the penny any second of the day. I don't understand. And they'll go days without looking at it. And they're like, oh, my bank account overdraft. I'm like, how did you do that? It's, and that is not confronting. Again, I'm psychotic and obsessive about it, but yeah, people don't even confront. They can't even look at what their balance is on a weekly basis, let alone.
And you know what? Weren't you telling me a story about a friend who couldn't open her mail?
Oh, yeah.
You guys had to get together and help her just open the mail. What was that about?
Oh, it was 10, 15 years ago. There was an issue, breakup, something that happened with her significant other, and he handled everything. And so when that ended, she just couldn't even open a bill. Did not know
Riggs.
how.
I hear Riggs in the background there. You don't have to apologize. We love Riggs. Oh, good.
He's protecting me from the vicious neighbors walking by.
One of these days, we're going to have to bring him in so everyone can see how cute he is.
When he runs up, I'll try to get him.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just couldn't even open bills because she just didn't know how. She, was with this guy from teenager years. So,
It's so funny because it doesn't matter if you're making $10,000 a year or $100,000 or $1 million or $100 million. The issues are all the same when it comes to money. I've worked with couples that were making over $1 million a year that were about to go bankrupt. And the inability for them to confront money together as a couple was just a complete avoidance. And the overspending, because they weren't talking about it, just kept digging them deeper and deeper into a hole. And that reminded me too, when you were telling that story of this one client I had many years ago, that I think her husband had died and she was a widow and she was a little older lady, but she had always written checks for the house and she just wrote the checks and whatnot. But for some reason, she never had the idea that the money had to get into the account. Like her husband put the money in. No, I'm serious. She wrote all these checks and they bounced. But you know what? What was terrible about that story? Okay, I can understand she couldn't confront it. She didn't understand. But the bank, you know what the bank did? They opened a credit card for her for all of the bounced check fees. And by the time that I came there to figure out what was going on, that credit card had over $3,500 of bounced check fees. Can you believe that?
That's so much.
Okay, I'm hating on the banks right now, but that was not right. That was not good. That should have been stopped, right?
That should have been stopped. Someone should have called her at some point and stopped paying the checks.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I think the bottom line is just not knowing and not having understanding, and it gets really scary. And speaking of scary, I mean, most people are afraid of the IRS. That's why they won't even open the IRS notices, you know?
That's true. I know how many times I've had clients just literally almost like blind me, send me a bill. Or not a bill, a notice from the IRS. And they're like, oh my gosh, what does it say? What do I need to do? And I'm like, it literally just says they got your tax return.
I know.
It doesn't even say you owe money. It's just
we got your address change notice.
Address.
And they won't open it. Yeah.
They're so afraid of whatever it says. They won't even read what the actual words say on the page. They just send it away thinking that they're going to go to jail.
Exactly. It's like, I don't even understand. Like, nope. I can't even look. I can't even look at it. You know,
it's like their reading comprehension goes out the window the moment they see like IRS.
Exactly.
It's like everything else is a second language.
Well, I wonder.
But
no, I gotcha. And you know what we do know is that if you don't understand the words of money or of whatever subject you are, it makes it hard for you to confront it. And I tell you what, there are so many words and vocabularies when it comes to our money system that no wonder we can't confront it. And, you know, that's what I call the complexity makers. Like it's complex because people make money off of selling you products. And if you actually knew how simple it was, you would be more able to confront it and not avoid it. But I wonder how many people don't even know what IRS stands for, if you think about it, and what that even means. Right. So anyway, we know it's the Internal Revenue Service. It's the body that collects the taxes. But, you know, the thing is that most people may not know what internal means or revenue means or service. And I know that sounds so silly, but that's the starting point when you can't confront something, is to just stop and say, do I even know what the words mean? Because that's the first step, is to opening it up and be able to start to look at something.
That's true. Or read it. Or just
read it. Read it. Don't be afraid to read it. The other thing that I see often about not confronting is I love to work with couples and get them communicating and talking to each other about money and their goals and things. But the conversations are so hard to have without some guidance. Usually, like if you think about it, how many couples do you know that have great money conversations and never fight about money? You know, it's a rarity, right?
Yes. I feel like that's one of the biggest topics of contention, but in any relationship, is money. Not having enough, not knowing where it's going.
Right. Not knowing where it's going, not having enough. I wonder what the underlying fear is. I mean, we worked with a couple for over a year, and we used to be like money counselors in the sessions, in our accounting sessions, and having to guide them into, exactly. We were like money therapists for them. But, you know, now that I think a big cause of it is because they were in money chaos. The business and the personal money was all tangled up. They didn't know what was what. They were randomly making payments on things or not.
You know what it was, I think, also, and this is what I've actually found in a lot of couples that I know too, is there's not a money I don't want to call it money manager, but in a lot of times when there's a lot of issues with money, there's not a designated person that's in charge of the finances. And it's like with this case of this couple you're talking about, one of them was responsible for making the money, but then the other one paid all the bills, but they didn't talk to each other.
Right.
And so it's like when you have the person that's making the money and the person that's spending the money not in coordination, it's like the right and the left hand don't know what each other are doing. So of course it's going to be chaos.
Yeah. And you know what else? That gives them the opportunity to blame each other.
Yes.
Right?
He's not making enough. She's overpaying.
That's right. Right? That's exactly right. It's like, I think that's what the underlying problem in so many situations is, not taking responsibility. And when you when you actually can't confront money, then that means you're actually not taking responsibility for it either. And what happens when you can't take responsibility for money? You have somebody else to blame.
Oh yeah. I'm like, well, you can't make it, I guess, if you can't take it.
Can't make it, but now you can blame somebody else for you not making
100%.
it, because it's not your responsibility, right? So it's not your responsibility that the bank account bounced because I didn't pay the bills, or it's not your responsibility you didn't make enough because I didn't know I needed to make enough.
Oh, I got a good one. It's not.
Okay, what?
It's not like, okay. So I don't know how many business owners I have asking me, not their business owner, another business owner in a totally unrelated business, if something's a business expense for their business. I'm like,
Right.
Well, I don't know. Did you use it for your business or not? And they're like, well. And then they go on this long story about what it was for, like trying to justify to themselves that it was a business expense. And I'm like, then they ask me, well, is that, can I deduct it? Is that a business expense?
It all's coming back to, what does the IRS say I can take as a deduction? And what you're saying is, but wait a minute, it's your business.
Why don't you know if it's a business expense or not?
So why does what bothers you about that? Because I know you always are you're always bringing the story up to me. You always do.
Yes. So
like, why?
It's because it's like someone else. What I think it is. I'm getting so worked up.
Hey, Elise, what do you think it is?
What I think it is just going to tell you.
What do you think?
I think.
Okay, tell me. Hey, what do you think?
No thoughts. So it's the fact that somebody else wants, they know it's wrong, but they want me to tell them it's okay. And then they'll be okay with it. But they fundamentally, deep down, know that it is not a legit expense. They should not be writing it off for whatever reason, but they're trying to put the responsibility on someone else. So that way, if let's say, they get audited, God forbid, they can be like, well, she said it was a business expense. So then they come back to me and be like, hey, you told me it was a business expense, but I'm like, I don't know the ins and outs of every one of our clients' business as well as the owner does. So they're the ones that need to tell me if it's a business expense or, whatever. And so it's just pointing the blame.
Yeah, that comes down to a huge topic that we talk about, which is money ethics. Yeah. And we are going to get into a lot about money ethics, in this podcast, because the reason I always talk about money ethics and how to improve your money ethics is because it's the number one reason you can't achieve a goal. If you're out ethics on your money, in other words, if you're avoiding things in that way, or if you're not doing things right, or you're hiding something from somebody, or dishonesty, those little tiny things that we just shove down actually stop you from achieving a goal. So I can bet you, if you're not achieving a goal in life that you want to achieve, then go back and look at, is there something that you don't want somebody to know about that you've done in the past that you're holding on to, maybe a little embarrassed or ashamed? We bury those things so deep, but that's what stops people from actually making money and achieving their goals. So in that case, it's like if you know that you're not supposed to deduct the pink dye on your poodle as a business expense in your accounting firm, right? Like, that doesn't make logical sense, right? Yeah. But you're justifying it. Well, it's a mascot, or, I walked it down the street in front and took a picture of the firm, so now it's a business expense, right? You're like, whatever that is. I'm totally making this stuff up. I hope nobody actually did that. But I think that's your point. And then you, as the person who's going to be signing the tax return, that's not fair to put that responsibility on you to tell them whether or not it's a business expense when they can't confront the fact that didn't actually need to be done for them to run that business, right?
Yeah, it happens all the time, though. They're just looking for someone else to tell them it's okay because they know it's wrong. They don't want to take the responsibility on making a decision that's not actually right.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, I didn't know we were going to go there. That's great. I usually think about these situations about relying on, say, your tax person for your tax deductions, not because of that point of view that they are, doing something wrong and they want somebody to tell them it's right so they don't get caught and all that, but because so many people are trying to drive their business decisions based on what's deductible by the tax law. And that's the wrong focus, because it's not about what's tax deductible. It's about what do you need to do to make more money in your business. And then let's get you the best tax deduction possible for that. And it's such a wrong focus when people are coming in and we're trying to help them clean up and get all their personal stuff out of their business and get all their business stuff and all their real estate entities and everything all straightened out, and then they'll say, well, can I deduct this or can I deduct that? And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Go make another $1,000. Go make another $100,000. Like, you focus on that. I'll focus on getting those expenses to the best tax deduction possible. But to have those conversations is a distraction from making money. It is a wrong focus when you're worried about cutting costs, when you're not making enough money, and you need to be focusing on making more money. And that goes back to the beginning or our last episode when we're talking about how important it is to add value to people to increase your income, because you got to increase your income and then you got to make sure you spend it accurately. And the whole point of what we're doing here is we're taking all of the twists and knots out of that money flow and we're smoothing it out so that money can come in, do what it needs to do, and go exactly where you want to put it.
And I think too, part of getting that, I guess, to touch on the confront again, we have to get the organization then to even get someone to look at what's happening. And they can't really make a lot of changes in their business. They can't really figure out where to even expand, I think, a lot of times, if they're not willing to actually look and see what's actually happening right now. You can't really do anything about what you don't know.
That's right. And, that leads me into the conversation about the state of what books are, that when they come to us, the chaos in the books. I know. We could talk a lot of stories about this, but I'm not going to put down bookkeepers and whatnot. But bookkeepers don't have a bookkeeping school to go to. There isn't such a thing, and so most bookkeepers have to teach themselves how to do bookkeeping, and so they start to learn how to, organize things on the P&L. But what there isn't in books often is wisdom, and that's what you're talking about. If you can't even read, if the financial statements that are being produced for you, or if you even have any at all, they don't make sense, you're not going to look at them. You're not going to confront it. And neither am I, actually. I'm so picky about this because we have our financial statements in a very specific, very streamlined way so that we have wisdom in those numbers. And that's why people can't confront it, really, Elise, is that most people don't know how to organize their numbers and get it streamlined, like you were saying, in such a way that they're actually readable. Right. Because the bottom line, it's very simple when it's not chaotic.
Exactly. And I think because people are used to so much chaos, and there is a back off that they have, because it's too much. They can't
handle it. Yeah, I think that's what this underlying belief is it's too hard. I can't do it. I can't figure it out. I can't handle it. I'll never be able to understand it. I'm not good with numbers. I think that's where it leads to. It's where people kind of get apathetic about it and say, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's just overwhelming. And that's where we can come in and say, okay, look, there is something you can do about it. And the first step is to start confront. And if you can't confront all of your finances, then pick the one thing you can start with that you do feel okay to confront. And if that's opening a bank statement or, looking at your credit card statements and confronting the interest rate or confronting those high balances and being able to look. Okay, I'll tell you a story. This is how I had to break free from my own issues, especially when it comes to credit cards. One of the first times I did this, I put a huge graph on my wall of all of my savings versus all of my credit card debt. And then every month I would put those balances. Okay, I'm dorking out a little bit here.
I love it.
But I would put it on this big chart and I put it right by my front door. So anybody who walked in my house looked at it. Like I wasn't going to hide it. I couldn't hide it, but I would, So anyway, I would just, every month I would see my savings go up and I would see my credit cards down until finally I did it. But until I got it out of the paper and out of my phone and put it up on the wall, huge, so I could actually see it, is when I finally was able to start, okay, I can handle this. I can get this credit card debt down. I can get out of debt.
Yeah, because then you can see it. I have the same thing. I have a spreadsheet on my phone that I also look at probably 4 times a day. And update all the time.
Who's worse about this? Is that you or me? I don't know.
I am. I don't really know. But you can't figure out how you're going to handle something if you don't know what the scene is. And so the first thing is figure out what's happening. What is happening right now? What are your balances at? What are your bank account balances at? What are all your credit card at? Put it down on a piece of paper. And then from there you can actually see what to do about it. But if you don't even know, or you don't even know how many credit cards you have, I know people who don't even know. They're like, I think I have a Amex. I don't know. I'm like, how do you not know? Do you not, what? What?
Oh my gosh. Didn't one of our Money Found stories, you found an account a client had he had forgotten about.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of money.
100.
It had 6 figures, yes. They're like, oh, I forgot about that one. I'm like, what the? Oh my God. I would love to forget about that, but
Well, I was thinking about that when you were saying the story, when you were telling that last story. I was like, well, I wonder if this is harder for people who, are kind of living paycheck to paycheck and, not super wealthy, or if it's harder for the wealthy people,
I
right?
think both.
And we work with both kinds of clients. And I tell you, the more complex the money gets, the more entities you have, the more bank accounts you have, the more the number of statements, the number of transactions starts, getting overwhelming in just the volume. And we find a lot of money in working with those clients that, are making 7 figures and 8 figures a year. And we find a lot of money in the ones that are barely making 6 or, under 500,000. Yeah. It's the same problem, no matter how much you make or don't make. And money chaos is one of those key things that not only can you confront it, but sometimes it's it is an avoidance tactic. If you don't want to confront it, you'll create more chaos.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And like you said, the first step is just look.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's our challenge for our listeners this week, right? Go look. Tell us what you find. What do you see?
I'd love to hear that.
I know,
I'd love to hear
too.
what people find by looking.
I know, me too. Everybody's a money finder, not just us, right?
Exactly.
No, we do. We ask you, we challenge you. We ask you, let's just look. Let's increase the level of confront, increase your awareness. It's going to bring up questions. Great. Ask those questions. Talk to your partners. Talk to your friends about money. Don't hide it. Let's bring it out to the open. And in our next episode, let's start talking about what money ethics are. And it's those things that you feel maybe a little embarrassed about or a little shamed, the little things you don't want to talk about. It's the things that are holding you back from achieving your goals. So we really have to have an honest conversation about what money ethics are and what new money codes can be to help you actually get that cause over the prosperity and flourish both personally and financially. So let's pick it up on the next episode. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. I can't wait.
All right. So Elise, how can we hear from our listeners? We want to hear their stories.
Yeah, of course. So the best way to do that is via email. And the email is stories@prosperitynation.com. And we'd love to hear from you, from your stories, anything you'd like to share with us would be great.
Yeah, we'd love to. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on social media for the latest episodes, updates, and more. Like and subscribe to videos from us on YouTube and find out more at prosperitynation.com. That's it for now. We'll see you next time on the Prosperity Nation podcast.